Losing your job as an immigrant living and working in the UK can really be disheartening, and it even gets worse if you lost your job with an employer that sponsors your skilled worker visa in the UK. Now it really can be disheartening, and consider the fact that especially if you're on a particular job role that is that is in low demand, or a job role that is not, there are not so many job vacancies available in that particular sector or in that particular role, it even get more difficult. And I mean, nobody wishes to actually lose their job. However, it's important to have the right information in situations whereby your current sponsor or your employer decide to terminate your employment, lay you off for different reasons. What are you going to do if you're an immigrant on a visa? And yeah, what is the way forward? What are the things expected from the home office, or what are the things that you should do if you find yourself in that situation? Now, trust me, guys, I mean, we might not really say this a whole lot. Many organizations in the UK are currently laying off, especially those who are in job roles that are that can be replaced, basically. And yeah, it's quite sad. However, we've had situations of this happening, and what are the things that we had to do when people get to lose their job while on a skilled worker visa. So I want to stick to this video to the end if you're currently on a skilled worker visa here in the United Kingdom. And if you're coming across the channel for the first time, my name is Daniel. I share everything UK immigration, transition into tech, and personal finance. You might want to click on the red subscribe button to join the amazing growing family. And my returning subscribers, thank you guys for being here. I really do appreciate you guys. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Losing your job while on a skilled worker visa can get very messy, especially if you have very limited time to get a new job and get a new sponsor. It really can be frustrating and breathtaking. And I mean, this was a situation we had about 2 weeks ago. So I had a conversation with someone who jumped on my one-to-one session, and for some reason the company was trying to restructure. This was an organization in London, and they were trying to restructure, and this person happens to work as one of the software developer within the organization. And according to him, they had, I think, a team of about 15 people in this department, and with the restructure, the company could only accommodate, I think, 8 of them. So there was a need to either move a couple of individuals to a different department, while some people had to be laid off. So I mean, it happens to fall under that category of people being laid off. In as much as software development is an in-demand role in the UK, it gets a little bit tricky when you have a limited time to get a new job and potentially get sponsor. Because of the kind of sector he works at the moment, or he used to work, because he's been laid off now, most of the organizations in those sectors don't offer time sponsor. I mean, because the clients, so this was like the background story. So the employment he got with the organization was tied to a particular contract the company had with another bigger organization, and for some reason the bigger organization actually is resident in the United States. So there was a kind of restructuring happening in that particular organization. So the company that employed him had a contract with that company in the US, and he was employed to work as a software developer for that particular contract with the company in the US. So when the company in the US decided to restructure, which ultimately affected that contract, so the organization lost the contract, and while in the midst of trying to do restructuring for their own organization, they lost the contract with the employer. So it just makes sense to either move into a different department or a different project or a different contract, or they have to terminate the employment. So I mean, after a lot of back and forth, I mean, there were about 3 weeks of back and forth trying to see what they could do, jumping on meetings with HR, with his line manager. But anyway, eventually they decided to terminate the appointment because they couldn't find any other department to put him to, or any other contract that they could fit him to. So yeah, basically he lost that employment, and the skilled worker visa was impacted. So yeah, let's go on gov.uk and see a couple of things that comes with you losing your employment if you're currently employed, or if you're currently being sponsored by an organization. So one thing that is key is that if you're currently on a skilled worker visa route, your permission to be in the UK is dependent on your employment with the same employer or and in the same role. This is also the case if you still have valid permission under the historic Tier 2 general visa route. Therefore, if your employment ends, this will impact your permission to stay in the UK. The impact on your permission is the same no matter how your employment was terminated. So obviously, if you're currently on a visa or on a skilled worker visa, the ability to stay on that employment or keep that job is what determines your right to live and work in the UK. So if you lose the job, you ultimately lose your sponsorship and your skilled worker visa. Now, see what happens when you get terminated or you lose your employment with an organization or an employer. Now, your employer, as the holder of the sponsor license, will need to report that you have stopped or they have stopped sponsoring you as a skilled worker to the UK Home Office, and this must be done within 10 days of termination of that employment. Now, this is done using the sponsor management system. Now, the employer will need to report these changes for any reason that they have ceased to sponsor the worker, including the following. This is for employer perspective. Now, you become aware the visa application for the entry, clearance, or permission have been refused, or their permission have been cancelled, and any administrative review or appeal against that decision has been finally determined. Now, the worker have decided not to take up the post or withdraw the job offer. Now, these are the different reasons why the employer would inform the Home Office that they're no longer sponsoring an individual. Now, the worker's contract of employment or contract for service ends earlier than the date showed on their COS. So, I mean, when you get a COS, there's usually like a date where you're going to be starting the employment and where you're going to end. This is majorly how long they're going to be sponsoring you. So, for example, if you get sponsored on the 1st of January 2023 and you've been given a 3 years visa, for example, now the end date on that COS would be 3 years after the 1st of January 2022, which will be probably 1st of January 2025. So if the employment is being terminated, let's say in 2024, the employer is legally required to inform the Home Office that this person that was sponsored till 1st of January 2025, the person's contract has been terminated and the COS will become invalid. Now, these are other reasons that could lead to the organization informing the Home Office that someone is not being sponsored. This is not limited to the workers resign or is dismissed or is made redundant. They also need to tell changes in the details of workers' employment or salary that has been reported is not permitted. So yeah, these are different reasons why one's sponsorship will be terminated, or reasons why the employer will need to inform the Home Office that someone is not being sponsored anymore. Now, please note that the additional duties for sponsors relating to offshore workers, your permission on the skilled worker visa can be cancelled or curtailed as you would cease to meet the requirements of the immigration rule under which you were granted. This is the case, for example, you do not start working for your sponsor, you or your employer confirm that the employment or voluntary training shadowing has ceased or will be ceased before the end of the recorded on the COS. Now, what then happens if the employer had informed the Home Office that you're no longer being sponsored or you're no longer being employed by them? What then happens? Now, what happens now is that following this, you will receive a letter cancelling or curtailing your leave, which set out that you have typically 60 days following the end of your employment to make arrangements or until the end of your visa. Generally, whichever is shorter, the 60 days will start from the receipt of that letter. In some circumstances, leave can be cancelled immediately, but this would be in exceptional cases. Generally, it is best to look for a new employer or suitable immigration route as a matter of urgency if you wish to stay in the United Kingdom. Now, this is reality. So if you get to lose your visa and you get a letter from the Home Office, you will be required to leave the UK within 60 days of receiving that letter, or the number of days left on your sponsorship. So if your sponsorship, you probably have like 45 days left, so it means that you need to leave the UK or get a new job within 45 days, not 60 days, because it is whichever is shorter between how long you have left on your sponsorship or 60 days after you get the letter. So this is quite sad. However, this is the only way out. You need to get a new sponsor, you need to get a new employer that will take over that sponsorship, or go on any other visa routes ranging from global talent visa, innovator founder visa, any other visa category available in the UK is what you can switch to. However, while you are on that 60 days probation, you might not be able to work because you don't have any valid sponsor sponsoring your rights to live and work in the United Kingdom. So yeah, that is the situation if you get to lose your job. If you have any thoughts, or you have got an experience, how will you be able to navigate this situation or this sad situation, please state in the comment section. You might be helping someone. I mean, it's quite difficult to talk about you losing your job to people, except you're the, in a corner. And this is what I tell people: when you find yourself in situations like this, please speak out immediately so you can get help. Now, this person spoke out immediately, and within 2 weeks, we were able to get a new job. So he got a job as a software developer with NHS, and it was a band 7 role, which was quite cool because he met the salary threshold requirements, and we were able to, get the COS. I mean, with NHS, it's quite interesting because luckily for him, when we spoke 2 weeks ago, the job vacancy we applied for was going to close the following day. And with NHS, I mean, when you get, called for interview and you pass the interview, within 2 days, sometimes even the following day, you get an offer letter. So we got an offer letter yesterday, and that's why I wanted to kind of talk about this on this video. So make sure you speak out as quick as possible so that you don't get stuck before you start speaking out, and it becomes almost impossible for anybody to help in that kind of situation anymore. So if you have any questions or any thoughts, state in the comment section. If you're coming across the channel for the first time, do well to hit on the subscribe button to join the amazing family. And my returning subscribers, thank you guys for being here. I really do appreciate you guys. So this will be the end of the video, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Thank you.